Also, guess who else is getting canceled, Bish? The founder of our country, Mr. John A. McDonald.
Segway Monster!
There you go. Bobby, how was that? Was that good?
I mean,
I know, right?
Saw it coming.
So, I mean, and I swear to God, I am going to get canceled with what I'm about to say, because I understand totally tearing down statues of racist figures who are members of the Confederacy, or, you know, British slavers who did nothing but enslave black people to get themselves rich. I get that. However, there is a thread on that sweater that you don't want to pull too far. I love having a statue of Martin Luther King, but there are things about his character that are not great. And
didn't he have affairs and stuff like that?
it's none of your business.
Well, the FBI has claimed that they have tapes of him basically fucking interns, and they might actually have.
Fucking who?
Martin Luther King.
Was fucking who?
Interns, white interns.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, and I'm not saying, hey, look, I'm not saying, I'm so going to get canceled. I'm not saying don't tear down statues of, like.
Welcome to our last episode.
Welcome to, exactly. If you want to tear down statues of John A. McDonald, that's fine, I guess. But what I would love to see in a perfect world, because I love history and I'm a history geek, I'm like, put up more statues, but of indigenous peoples. And then have information on those statues about the good and the bad of both those people, because there's going to be good and bad about everybody, because that's the cognitive dissonance that we're struggling with in our time.
There's only so far I go with that. And this crosses all race lines for me. I'm not a big fan of Shaka Zulu. Right? I am not a big fan of the Egyptian pharaohs. I am not a big fan of people building statues to conquerors, considering what the result of conquest is, which is slaughter and mayhem. And I personally don't have a lot of skin in the game of taking down that statue, but I'm sure as hell going to support Native people going, you know, hey, this dude is an invader that justified the genocide of my people. Now, you do shit like that, right? And I've got an issue with you. If, on the other hand, you're looking at people like Martin Luther King, I also agree you should be called out. Like in all his speeches where he's saying, you know, we are a man, right? Sorry, let me go back on this a bit. My judgment on historical figures is, could they adapt to the present moment and the present dialogue, right? I do not see George Washington ever wanting to be in the same room with someone black as an equal. I do not see Sir John A. McDonald gifting up. I can see Martin Luther King being called on not being a feminist, not being a strong supporter of black women. I can see him going, ooh, I better adjust my game. Malcolm X, I'm not so sure about, but I think, you know, I think near the end of his life, he could. Now, can you bring up those points in discussions? Well, yeah, this guy's a hero, but look at this, right? But as far as I'm concerned, when you start bringing in conquerors who are essentially murderers and land thieves, right, and justifying their statues, I think if I'm going to accept that statue still being in a public space, then you should also be willing to accept my alternative point of view on that person.
Okay, look, here's what I'll say on this, okay? I think we can all agree that there shouldn't be a Hitler statue in Queen's Park, okay?
Right.
But I think there's levels to this shit. You know what I mean? It's like, where's the line, right? It's like, surely we can agree that Martin Luther King, you know, is one of the greatest activists for civil rights in the history of civilization. But does this mean that he's a perfect human? No, right? So, right, could you say, well, look at the things that he did against women and, you know, okay, so that, are we now invalidating the significant progress that he helped generate? And then I say, well, where is the line? right? It's like there's so many issues in our society. There's so many things that are wrong, and even people like that. We're all good human beings, except for Luke, right? But
You are so full of shit.
you know, we don't agree. We don't agree. We have different points of view. We're trying to do the right thing, but who's deciding what the right thing is? What is the line?
Here's the thing. Like, I know people should not listen to Bill Cosby's work anymore. That's just a fact. Like, that's just what's happened. And I agree with it. I think, however, in 100 years, 200 years, if the human race is still around, what happened to him will have transformed in the same way that you know, the way we look at Shakespeare, the way we look at Euripides. Like, I think the current, you know, all the fuss around Socrates or whatever will have gone through through time, so that people won't care 200 years from now about that. They'll just simply be looking at his work. And here's the thing: I don't want to know what Shakespeare actually thought about black people. I just don't. I don't want to hear about it. There's certain works of his that I love, and I will hold them close to my heart. I don't want to hear what Jimmy Stewart thinks about black people. I love It's a Wonderful Life. I just want to watch the fucking movie. Please, watch it.
No, I can't.
I just want to watch the movie.
You can watch anything you want to watch, but don't tell me that I'm not supposed to. Oh, shush on that. Shush. That's bullshit.
No, you can say whatever you want about Jimmy Stewart.
No, I'm saying that should be part of the dialogue.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah,
don't shut out the dialogue. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing. It's just like, but don't tell me I can't watch it. Don't tell me, how dare you watch It's a Wonderful Life, because don't you know Jimmy Stewart's racist? That's
hold on. My answer
we're
is...
talking about cancel. We're talking about cancel culture, right? And I guess for me, it's a very simple question. Okay, who gets to decide who gets canceled?
Yeah. Well,
we all know who decides it's who wins in the end and writes the history of that moment. I mean, who knows who's going to win this shit?
And speaking of the history of that moment, like, there's been a large rally for Elijah McClain. For those of you,
Yeah. Can I say one thing before we move on?
Oh, sure.
There's one really interesting point that came up with this YouTube video on the statue of Robert E. Lee, being taken down, and the discussion around the actual memorial, the writing of the memorial to the Robert E. Lee mansion. And this is what it says before all the kerfuffle about Robert E. Lee. Right. The Robert E. Lee Memorial honors Lee's military and public leadership in pre- and post-Civil War America. Congress designated the memorial to recognize that, quote, the desire and hope of Robert E. Lee for peace and unity within our nation has come to pass, end quote. From the portico, you can contemplate our nation's fate as you gaze across the river that once divided us. Now, okay, this is the next quote after everyone got upset, right? Arlington House is the nation's memorial to Robert E. Lee. It honors him for specific reasons, including his role in promoting peace and reunion after the Civil War. In a larger sense, it exists as a place of study and contemplation of the meaning of some of the most difficult aspects of American history: military service, sacrifice, citizenship, duty, loyalty, slavery, and freedom. So tell me there's not going to be more discussion about that.
Uh-huh. Oh, God. Just one quick thing, Andrew, just before we go, because my headphones kicked out there, so I didn't hear a lot of the conversation. But thankfully, it was when Lewis was talking, so that's cool. Here's one thing that I think about statues. If we take them down, the birds will have less places to shit. And that's really the only thing that statues bring to the table. Good monuments, point. The argument of how will my kids learn about this? Maybe open a fucking book, you monster. And so, like, if you go through Germany, there are no statues of Hitler commemorating the greatness of our difficult time. Yeah, Germany is very quick to go, that guy? Yeah, he was fucked. But they have the right monuments in place to actually educate and teach people about the atrocities that occurred. And when you look at the actual statues of like the hollowed metal ones that we'll put up as big fuck yous to the black community that are now being torn down, those ones which weren't even erected at a time of commemoration, they were a know your place people erection. Yeah. And it was a horrible time, and I don't think we need them, to be quite honest. That's just
very quickly. I was just going to add, you guys check out on YouTube John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. Remember that actor?
What? Okay, I am listening.
Yeah. John Schneider, because actually I was going to suggest this to you for the I Hate White People segment, just so you know. John Schneider had a question that he put out to the internet just recently on YouTube, because he has a question about, the Confederate flag, and he has these questions about, whether it should be thrown out. So just watch a video, look up for John Schneider, difficult question, because he puts forward the question, and this is absolutely serious, and he puts forward this question for people to answer on his YouTube video comments. Why, if the Confederacy was so evil, did black free men fight for the Confederacy?
Oh my God.
Why did that happen? Check it out. We're not going to talk about it. Okay, moving on.